Hey, what's up? It's Culturally Damaged. It's Thursday. It's about 3:52 in the PM, and I'm here with Dave. What's up, Dave?
Oh, you got a new host today, huh? Mr. Parker?
You know, we're doing Dave's election, and I got Dave on the brain. I meant to say Dan.
Well, I'll forgive you the one time only.
I had like 9 cups of coffee today.
9. I got through my first quarter cup, and I was so warmed up. It was so warm in the office today that I couldn't drink any more of the coffee.
Yeah, it's very warm. In fact, I actually wore my scarf today. I think you've already made fun of me. I just walked in for the first time, but it's nice to have winter clothes because I live in the north, or I'm from the north. So it's very seldom I get to break out the scarf.
Yes, I'd like for all of our live audience members here to chime in if they are wearing a scarf today as well.
It's the Florida scarf. It's funny because you go to Rowdy's games and you see people wearing scarves.
That's true.
Because it's like the European soccer thing to do, but it's 90 degrees and it's humid as hell, and these people have scarves on. Come on, man.
Silly people. Silly people.
How about making some Florida soccer traditions? Like, I don't know, like some kind of weird sunglasses or flip-flops that they wear. I don't know. New topic. So what's been going on? Your diet still going the same way? Still moving forward?
My lifestyle change is going.
Oh, I like it
in a good way. So now I am down about 45 pounds now. So
wow. Do you care to take your shirt off for our viewers?
No, we want to whatever few viewers that we have, we'd like to keep them as viewers. So there's no reason to blind anybody or hurt anybody's not olfactory. It would be the optical nerves or anything like that.
Well, it's good that you said lifestyle change, because I think a lot of people lose weight and they just want to get it off, and then they want to.
Everybody wants to get it off.
They want to get the weight off, and they want to get the weight off just long enough to take a good picture for Facebook or their dating site picture, and then they'll gain the weight back, and then they'll just trick the girl when they go out on a date with them.
Actually, my reasoning was more for my law firm, so that I could take another picture with the different facial hair.
So you want to trick your clients?
Trick my clients, yes.
Good,
actually, let's
good attorney.
Scrub back from the audio. No tricking clients.
A good attorney always tricks his clients. Right, Dan?
I was just kidding.
Attention to the Bar Association. Are you listening?
Don't send that one to Josh, okay? We'll make sure Josh edits that out as a Board of Governor member.
Yes, if he even listens. But hey, that's great that you've lost the weight, though, and I'm trying to do the same thing. I think I've gotten down about 18 pounds now.
Mm-hmm. I saw you
skinny face. We're withering away over
quite
here.
A bit. And I saw you got some new little contraption yesterday in the office.
I did. I'm pricking myself for blood to test my keto, and I've never done that. But the way I look at it is, if the doctor says I'm pre-diabetic anyway, then I'm going to have to start pricking myself eventually if I don't do this. So I prick my finger. I enter it into the ketose machine, which is very similar to a glucose machine that you would test your blood if you had diabetes, and it tells you how many ketones, what level of ketose you have in your body, and if you're in ketosis, then you're burning fat at a faster rate. So I tried it yesterday. I went through the things that you put in, the little strips, they're like $2 a piece, man. They're so expensive. You buy 100 of them, it's $200. So I won't have any money left to buy food.
Yeah, so that's how you really lose weight.
That's actually a good idea for a diet. But it worked. I finally got it to work. I found out I'm in ketosis, so that's cool. So still eating a lot of fat, not very many carbs, a little bit of protein to keep these pythons, as I call them, in check. And
yeah.
Hopefully one of these days you won't recognize
garter snake.
This on here.
I think he's mistaken it with a garter snake.
Well, the garter snake. Yeah, every python's got to be small at one point. It's going pretty well. I feel better. That's the main thing, right?
Yeah, that is, and that's. I feel a lot better. I walk to the dog park. I go do things. We renovated the studio, which by the way we are christening the new studio.
Brand new studio. Right. You are looking at it right now. The unnamed studio. We are still looking for naming rights. And so for those of you who would like to put your name on something, who have lived a life in which you really haven't been able to accomplish much, and you want to put your name on this world somehow, give us a little bit of money, and we will
or a lot.
Oh yeah, or a lot of money, and we will spend it on humanitarianism.
No, we will not. But at least I will. You can spend whatever proceeds that you get on humanitarian reasons.
Now, do we get to split this 50-50?
No, there will not be a 50-50 split. We will find a reasonable...
I think that's fair. Dan's paid to have this studio. I did put some elbow grease in last Friday. Yes. My dad and I helped put this sweet new carpet you can see behind me. We actually have carpet on the walls here. That's how cool we are. We have carpet on the walls. We vacuum our cleaner, our house cleaner that comes in.
The little fairies?
Every evening. The cleaning service that we have, who all have citizenship.
Yes. Yeah.
They come in
allegedly.
And vacuum the walls. They vacuum
allegedly,
our walls.
But we don't verify that stuff.
Well,
at least I don't.
I did, and that license looked real to me.
Hey, if you want to click the little room camera there, and I'll give everybody a quick view.
All right, we're going to give you a mini tour.
Ready? Just tell me when.
Room cam is on. Hey, Dan there.
Ooh, here. I have no idea what I'm showing you, so hopefully...
Okay, so just point the camera at stuff.
We are showing the wall.
For our radio listeners, we apologize for this break in the action, but you should log on to Facebook.
And Facebook. You can see, here's our the wall here. Some cool things, I think.
And if you're wondering why the wall in the back is green, that is a green screen because we also do video work. We are not a one-trick pony, but a two-trick pony.
All right, so we're going to try to put this back in Chris's
very good. Very nice, Dan. How are we job on that? We need to go back to our regular screen.
Yeah, so just unhide
I'm going to unhide break time. Nope, not break time, but
room cam. Room
cam is hidden. Oh, we are back, but Dan's no longer there.
So
where's Dan? Is he all right? Oh, there he is.
Is it relatively okay?
I almost called you Dave again. Yeah. Okay. No, move it. You need to get in the screen a little bit more. Our viewers want to see skinny Dan. No, the other way. More.
Well, I'm going to move over, so...
Okay, now that's good.
Is that okay?
Right.
Okay, yeah. It's almost like...
If I have to look at you, our viewers should too.
It's almost like when you backing up a trailer, trying to do that. It's like the opposite way. You're turning it, and you're so it's.
That is a very good analogy.
Except without the boop.
Can you see me rolling my eyes right now? Our listeners cannot hear me rolling my eyes, but I am. All right. Well, we had a big weekend in sports, man. How about the NFL playoffs? I did not do well in my predictions. I don't think either one of us did very well.
No.
Who would have thought the Jaguars were going to beat the Steelers? First of all, that was nuts. What happened to the Steeler D? The Steel Curtain, man.
Well, actually, I don't think either team played much defense. We ended up with a 45-42 victory, I think, by Jacksonville. So I'm not sure either team can claim they played a whole lot of defense.
I don't think that anybody expected that. I know I'm just defending my pick for the most part, but who would have thought that? I think Jacksonville matched their entire scoring total for the year in that game. Jake Bortles looked like a quarterback. I mean, he really did for the first time. It was really impressive performance by them. Every time you thought Pittsburgh was going to get back into it, Bortles and that offense found a way to get downfield. The good use of the running back Fournette, or how do you say his name?
Leonard Fournette.
Fournette, yeah, that's what
Fournette.
I don't know if he was French or what, but
French Cajun.
He's Cajun. But yeah, man, they look good. Steelers offense even looked good. There was a couple of fourth downs where I was really kind of flabbergasted by the calls on the.
They have this issue of not using Ben Roethlisberger to go for the quarterback sneak. So I've heard him on the radio say that he hasn't. I don't know if he's run a quarterback sneak in like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, did you notice how he answered that? He kind of threw his offensive coordinator, who was fired.
Yes,
he threw his offensive coordinator under the bus by saying, I mean, he could have easily just pulled a Peyton Manning and said, I just do what we're told. It's poor execution. We rely on the coaches. But his answer instead was, I don't know why we don't run it.
I wouldn't mind.
I'm like 6'9", 400 pounds, and no one can tackle me when I'm in the pocket. So why shouldn't I run? My opinion is they probably think that his age prohibits him from kind of getting in the mix in there a little too much.
But I'll tell you what, though, the Bucs kind of have a similar philosophy. I don't recall Jameis Winston.
And that makes no sense
very often either. So
that makes no sense. But at least with the Pittsburgh Steelers, they have one of the best centers in football with one of those two twins that played at Florida.
Pouncey.
The Pouncey twins.
Yep.
And that guy's a bull.
Mm-hmm.
You get behind him. Now, the Bucks, on the other hand, have had some problems at center when Ali Marpet not playing a lot of the year. So I can kind of understand that. But what really gets me is on 4th and 3rd down situations where there's short yardage and these teams go in a shotgun. That just blows my mind, man. I'm a Marshall fan, and we run a spread offense, and the whole philosophy is never under center. The only time they ever go under center is one formation. You know what that formation is? The victory formation. That's the only time they go under center. If it's 4th and inches, they're in shotgun. And that blows my mind, man.
A little sidetrack here. Speaking of Marshall, we saw a former Marshall player yesterday, didn't we?
We did. We ran into him at Chipotle.
Well, I didn't actually run into him. I sat quietly at the table.
Well,
Somebody else ran into him.
Well, he's a Green Bay Packer now. His name is Michael Clark. He's part of the 52-man roster of the Green Bay Packers at the end of the season. A Lakewood High School alumni who actually left Lakewood to go to New York for some small college and play basketball. Played 2 years of basketball, good numbers. And then his good friend, who played AAU basketball with him, is Chase Litton, who happens to be Marshall's former quarterback. And
what do you mean by former?
Well, he's former because he just declared for the draft after his junior year, which I'm not sure if that was a good call, but hey, who knows? But Michael Clark, he came to Marshall at 6'7", never have played football before, and became our leading receiver at Marshall, and declared after 1 year at Marshall for the draft, had 3 years of eligibility left to play football, declares for the draft, gets picked up as a free agent by the Packers, does great in summer camp. Packers really liked him. He's a huge target. He's 6'7". He's like 6'7", 240, 250. Fast, good hands, gets up to the highest point, does a really good job. So he actually got playing time towards the end of the year. There was a couple of injuries. Cobb got hurt. A couple of other guys got hurt for Green Bay. So he gets in. He gets playing time. And sure enough, we run into him. He walks in the Chipotle and he's in line, and I had recognized him.
Yeah.
And
so, by the way, my brother agrees with you about the quarterback situation. He actually texted me last night saying, "Did you hear?" I said, "Well, actually, I did. I had lunch with Chris. I heard, and I tried to remember. I couldn't remember Clark's name. He's like, what's his name?" It's like, but Clark kind of agreed. I said, Chris agreed. And I said, I don't know if Clark thinks he's going to get drafted so high either.
Yeah, well, I asked Michael Clark about Chase Litton, his friend, and I asked him, I said, hey, do you think he's ready for the NFL? Do you think he's ready to go? He said, yeah, he'll get a shot.
He'll get a look, I think.
He'll get a look, yeah. And I think that's true because he looks good on paper. He threw for 3,000 yards. He started for 3 years. He threw 25 touchdowns last year. But here's my beef with Chase Litton. He's one of these guys that looks good on paper, but it's the immeasurables that oftentimes get overlooked that I think he lacks. Whereas a couple of years ago, we had a kid by the name of Rakeem Cato who set all kinds of NCAA records, but he was short. He wasn't very fast, but he was kind of a Doug Flutie, and he could just make things happen, and he always got overlooked. No pun intended, he was pretty short. But he oftentimes got overlooked, but the intangibles or immeasurables he was so good at. He had a lot of grit, man. He was tough. He knew how to win. Anytime he faced adversity, it was like, this is nothing. I lost my mother when I was 9 years old. This isn't adversity. Whereas a kid like Chase Litton, who seems to be from like a good family, which there's no knock on that, but he never seemed to have witnessed that really tough adversity. So when it got tough in the games, I feel like he kind of tensed up a little bit, and it never really made him better. But there's arguments that could be made for that. He's gotten better on third downs, but I don't know if he's NFL ready.
Yeah, well, speaking of adversity, let's briefly touch on this the game against the Dirty Birds. That was a hard game to watch.
There was two Dirty Birds in that game. There was the Northeastern Sasquatch Birds, and then there was the Dirty South Dirty Birds.
We leave the Dirty South Birds alone.
Well,
Philadelphian Birds
they are alone now.
Much more filthy.
They're not actually. No, who do they play?
The Eagles.
No, I was thinking they played the Seahawks. Wow.
I didn't know really where you were going.
Where does Sasquatch come from? I'm so used to the Seahawks being in the playoffs at this point. They didn't even make the playoffs. The Eagles.
Filthy Eagles.
The Eagles. Philadelphia.
Yes.
What in the world? How did they win that game with the quarterback play that they have?
It was just an abysmal play by the Falcons, I think.
Well, it also starts with a D and ends with offense, and it's good. Best starting Well, the best defensive line, top to bottom, in the league by far. I mean, they don't give anybody time to throw the ball.
No.
How about that last play, though? The Atlanta had the ball in the 5, first down and goal at the 5-yard line. All they needed was a touchdown to win.
That's all?
All they needed was a touchdown to win. They get down to their last play. They call a timeout. They call that play that they've been practicing all year. You always have that one play. Mm-hmm. And it didn't work. He runs around, and then he's got his guy in the end zone, Julio Jones. He said, I'm going to go up top to Julio, like me and Julio down at the schoolyard. Paul Simon reference. And he goes up, and it goes right through Julio's hands. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if he would have caught it, he would have landed out of bounds because one of his feet were out of bounds.
So it wouldn't have mattered then.
Yeah, but you got to know where you are on the field.
You do. But it's it's that's the kind of thing. Unfortunately, that's the kind of thing that happens. Last play of the game, fourth quarter, people start panicking. You start running around. Play breaks down, and people screw up.
That's a good transition to our other NFC game.
Yeah, the exact opposite of.
Let's talk about tensing up on our last play. Wow, what an ending in Minnesota. That was so much fun. I'd never stood up and cheered for a team. I didn't really care if they won or not. Just stood up. Because, I like New Orleans. I like the town. I like the feel. I like the culture there.
It's actually kind of dirty, too.
It is dirty, but I'm kind of dirty. So it kind of makes a little sense. It's gritty and dirty and likes to party.
I've never seen many dirty guys wearing scarves.
Just saying. Hey, you haven't been around very long. But, hey... I like Drew Brees. You're a Drew Brees fan too, right?
Listen, I mean, this game essentially was winding up to be exactly what I said. I didn't trust Case Keenum, or not that I didn't trust him, but that Drew Brees was the quarterback that I wanted if I had 30 seconds left in the game.
You said that.
And, I was watching the game with a friend of mine, 17-0. And then it was like, you could just see in that beginning of the third quarter when the Saints got that touchdown, it was just like, that didn't take long. And then 3 minutes later, 14-17. And you could just see the momentum shift. And then when I think there was another turnover, or the Vikings scored the field goal, so they went up. And then you're like, oh, well, here comes the little short guy.
You just didn't know. You just didn't know what was going to happen in that game. But you had to have your money on the guy who'd been there and done that. And I think everybody did. But Case Keenum, man, from the University of Houston, or Houston University, I should say, a guy that everybody kind of passed up on, a backup quarterback, is the guy that's going to probably take his team to the Super Bowl, to be the first team to play at home. Now, they're riding on the backs of that defense. There's no doubt. But he's the one that made that pass. I mean, I don't know what the Saints were doing.
Yeah.
They were trying to keep him in bounds, and that was the key. And that Sean Payton...
Head up.
Sean Payton told him, he's like, don't let him out of bounds, don't let him out of bounds, don't let him out of bounds. But what he forgot to say is, don't let him in the end zone. There should have been some safety help back there, but that was a sure-handed tackle by a rookie who has played pretty well this year. And, man, the memes.
It's like one of those situations where somebody goes for the running back and he hurdles them. And it's really because they put their head down.
Yeah.
They arch down. And they can't see what's happening. And this guy put his head down, and he thought he was going to hit him. And
you have rookies that make mistakes, and you say, "Oh, a rookie mistake," and you chalk it up. But dude, that guy's never gonna hear the end of that. That's a Bill Buckner situation.
Because it was almost impossible for the Vikings to score to win that game if they just tackle him. It was almost. It was no way. If he kept them in bounds, game over.
Right, and there were two guys between him and the sideline, so he was not going to get out of bounds, and that was obviously their only. And even if he did, intention was to keep him in bounds.
The time would have ended before he could have gotten out of bounds. If you struggled.
It was a fluke. It really was, but. I don't know. They tried so hard to keep him in bounds. They let him in the end zone, and the celebration was kind of, it was fun. It was nice. It was nice to see those people. You know how cold it is in Minneapolis.
Yes, about as cold as it is outside.
No, it's colder. It's so much colder. I guarantee you, it's below zero right now in Minneapolis. And 3 weeks from now, we're gonna have the Super Bowl in Minneapolis, and everybody says, "Oh well, it's in a dome. No big deal."
Yeah.
Hey, listen, Super Bowl is not just a game. It's a whole week of festivities. And everybody's going to have to go between building to building to get where they're going because it's not one big building that they're going to be in. And it's going to be cold, and people are going to hate it. I'm telling you. It's going to be worse than it was in Detroit. It's a beautiful city. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Minneapolis is a beautiful city. But, dude, it's February in Minneapolis, and you want to take all these people and put them there. Not a good idea. I was in Jacksonville during the Super Bowl, and that was pretty bad because they didn't have the infrastructure to host the Super Bowl. But I would rather see Jacksonville host the Super Bowl than sub-zero temperatures. That's just cruel.
No, there's no reason that Super Bowls should not be in Tampa, Miami, Jacksonville, perhaps San Diego, even Vegas now.
Atlanta's Vegas is going to be a big Super Bowl destination.
You know.
Atlanta will be nice.
No.
It's going to be comfortable.
If it's below Tennessee.
Yeah. Well, recently, when we had the Super Bowl in New York recently.
Even the Dallas one was cold.
The New York Super Bowl went over pretty well. Because it was New York City and people liked being in Manhattan.
But it was freezing.
They
still had
cold.
The same problems.
It had just snowed the day before, but it actually, for the game, it warmed up. So it went well.
Yeah, but they had a lot of problems, I think, with getting people to and from the different events and things like that.
Well, the big deal was that the stadium is over in New Jersey. And so everyone's staying in Manhattan for the most part.
Wait a minute, they're the New York Giants. So it doesn't make any sense.
Well, the New York Giants and the New York Jets play in New Jersey, but... whatever, man. I don't get into it. Where are you going to build a stadium in Manhattan or anywhere in New York City? But, that's just how it is. But when they had it there, someone close to me told me, someone who goes to the Super Bowl and does part of the productions for the NFL Experience, Greg Brewer, my good friend, who does, look him up, he does good videography. But he was telling me that the Green Bay Packers were there, and they were interested in putting in a bid to host the Super Bowl at Lambeau Field. So they wanted to see how a cold weather Super Bowl would work outdoors. And so that seems to be the trend.
It's a terrible trend. It's almost as bad as having the Winter Classic in Raymond James Stadium. So even though, yes, they can have ice here, to me, come on. Like, Winter Classic does not belong where an outdoor ice hockey game in Tampa. The Lightning are great, and it's a great experience.
It's gimmicky.
Inside.
It's gimmicky, but I think it'd be kind of fun, though. I mean, it's different. Come on. I mean, it's not that cold. If they can keep the ice cold, I'd sit and watch hockey.
Well, that's the thing, though. That's the experience, though. Like, come on. Like,
it's
hockey
just one
should
game,
be
though.
cold, though.
It's just one game.
Just like the Super Bowl, it should be nice and sunny.
Yeah, I agree. But you know what? I don't care because I'm not going because I don't have tickets. So I've never been to a Super Bowl. I probably will never go to a Super Bowl. I had an opportunity to go to Super Bowl in Jacksonville. Funny story. I lived in Jacksonville.
Probably not that funny, but we'll listen anyway.
All right. It's one of my it's one of my little fun stories to tell. But there was an event at the Landing on Thursday night before the Super Bowl. We're down there hanging out at the Landing, which is a little downtown destination on the river where people go and hang out. And we got to talking to two guys that were from Massachusetts and chowder heads, but really nice guys. And I never liked Patriots fans. I still really don't that much. But you know what makes a Patriots fan look really good is when they're next to an Eagles fan, and that's who they were playing that year. They were playing the Eagles, and these guys are really cool. And they had a hotel the closest they could get.
Sorry, Thomas Parker, about the Yankee fan joke.
Yeah, he might listen.
He is listening.
Is he now? Okay. Well, the Yankees. We'll talk about that later. But these guys were really nice, and the closest hotel that they could get was Gainesville, and it was pretty late. They'd been drinking a lot, and so being from West Virginia and being kind of a naive person to the big city, I said, Gainesville? Why don't you just stay at my place? I just live right down the road here. And they said, really? They said, that sounds kind of weird that you would invite two complete strangers to stay in your house for the whole weekend. And I said, yeah. And they're like, well, what do we owe you? Nothing, man. You can hang out with us. We'll have a big time, man. We'll enjoy Super Bowl weekend together. So I'm in law school, so I have a little apartment. And the next morning I wake up, and there's all these chowderheads all over my place sleeping. And I had the most fun with these two guys for the whole weekend. They drove me everywhere. They paid for everything. My roommate was a little mad at me at the time, but it worked out. They didn't steal everything from me like they probably could have and just left. They offered me on the day of the game. They said, hey, we really appreciate what you've done for us, and we've found you some tickets. They said, we're willing to subsidize them, but it's still going to cost you $400 That's the remainder after what
Yeah.
they probably pay half. And I was like, dude, I'm going to watch it on television. I'm not that interested. I was so tired and hungover from that weekend. I wanted nothing to do with going to that game. But looking back on it would have been fun. But Super Bowl, Schmooper Bowl. Are you going to come to my house for the party?
You're putting me on the spot here on the radio here. I'm just kidding. I probably not. I'm a loner when it comes to sports. I like to flip the channel. To be honest, I may end up flipping the channel from the Super Bowl and watch some sort of Marvel comic show or something.
It's pretty rare to get shot down on the radio, like on air.
I mean, internet radio
from a dude.
Let's all be thankful there's no kiss cam going on here.
What? There is a table between us.
You have seen those videos occasionally. They'll show the kiss cam when the guy or somebody gets...
moving on.
What is it? When they get... I don't know. What you know?
Yeah, moving on.
Like when you and I ask a girl out, whatever, like when they say no, they
You
reject us.
You are digging
when they get rejected.
a hole. Dig it deeper.
Rejected on kiss cam.
Dig. Well, there were two other games. The Patriots made light work of the Titans, and so.
Wow, I really wish the Bucs would have drafted Marcus Mariota. He's won a playoff game. I'm just kidding.
Oh, don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. And we get a lot of that. If you're not from the Tampa area, you may not realize it, but the same year Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston came out of the draft together. It was like, who do we take?
Although I know, and I will tell you though, it sounds from listening to what some of the Tennessee media people will say, is that people in Tennessee, it's really there's not a whole lot of issues of like I wish we had Jameis. I don't really think that's an issue.
Well, it's because he hasn't done anything yet.
Yeah.
But
his team has the other way though.
His team hasn't done anything yet.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that there were some people that first year that said, wow, like what a rookie campaign that guy had. And our guy was hurt. But I remember the first game. I was actually at that first game. They played against each other in the very first game, and they both were starters their rookie season, their first game. And the very first play of the game, I hadn't even gotten my seat yet. Jameis throws a pick six. And we're like, oh, we should have got Mariota. It's like, wow, wait a second, man. That's probably one out of 20,000 plays throughout his career. It went bad, but and we ended up losing that game. But Jameis is going to find his own. I think there was a good quote by Deshaun Jackson yesterday in a paper. He said, Jameis needs to quit trying to impress the world. And he didn't mean anything bad by that. He just says Jameis needs to be Jameis and just do his thing and get that swagger back that he had that won him a Heisman Trophy and a national championship. And I think you nailed it on the head, man, when you were talking about it several shows ago when you said that the organization itself is probably putting pressure on Jameis to get the ball to Deshaun Jackson, and that's taking him out of his flow. And it's messed up his rhythm, and rhythm is everything when you're a quarterback.
Yeah, and it sounds like, from what I've heard, that it doesn't sound like they're planning on getting rid of Deshaun Jackson.
I don't think so. It doesn't sound like it. And
although they're not really going to say anything, it's not like they're going to say, yeah, we're really thinking about getting rid of him.
Yeah, but at the same time, he hasn't expressed any ill will about being here. He knows it could be a lot worse. He could be in a worse situation. He could go up to Buffalo and play. But I mean, they were in the playoffs. Nothing against Buffalo. It's just cold as hell up there. We got to get a backup though, man. Jameis's investigation for the Uber groping incident is we don't know. It's up in the air. It's in limbo. So they could come out right at the beginning of the year and suspend Jameis for 6 games. It could be one of the situations like we dealt with in Dallas
with Zeke Elliott.
Zeke Elliott. So you got to get an experienced backup who could possibly play 2 to 5 games next year, which are going to break the season. And then when you look at the Vikings and you say, look what they did when they lost Sam Bradford and Teddy Bridgewater, or Teddy Bridgewater and Sam Bradford, in that order. And look what they were able to do with a backup quarterback.
Well,
who do we get?
I don't know.
Can you float some names?
I think there's a QB coming out of Marshall.
No,
I don't.
We got to get a vet, man. We got to get some guy that's going to come in, but not a vet that's 200 years old like we did this year. Old man winner.
Yeah, I don't know.
Top beard.
I'm not that concerned about to me, our backup quarterback is going to be our backup quarterback. You're not going to have a whole lot of options out there, I guess, is what I'm saying. I mean, they're backups for a reason. There's a lot of teams right now that don't have
How do you explain what's going on in Minnesota then?
They got lucky.
There's a lot of good quarterbacks out there that are just waiting for their shot. And they may have gotten a shot in a, summer camp and it went badly one year. They might have even gotten a chance as a starter and it went badly one year. But what if the Rams would have given up on their quarterback when he had a bad rookie year? And then they came back and performed so well. There's a lot of good talent out there, man, that might not even be in the CFL. It might be somebody in...
Mike Glennon might be available.
I've been there, done that.
But I mean, that's what I mean. Like usually, that's the type of player that you're bringing in as a backup. Where that's like somebody else's Mike Glennon. Like we look at Mike Glennon and because we had him, and we're like, this was terrible. And we're going to look at somebody else's backup quarterback that their team is probably happy to get rid of, or starter that's no longer a starter they're happy to get rid of, and we're saying, well, yeah, we're going to be the half glass full guy for the new quarterback, and
No, I agree, but there are some players out there I think that you can look at that probably have some overfield. Ryan Tannehill is one of them. He didn't work out in Jacksonville. They wanted him to be the starter there. He didn't work out. But it depends on what you're asking out of a quarterback. What do you want him to do? Do you want him to win the game? Do you want him to be the field general? Do you want him to be the leader of the best offense? Do you want to be Tom Brady? Or do you want them to play mistake-free football, occasionally make plays, but for the most part just don't turn the ball over? That's what you can do when you have a good defense.
Yeah.
And we should have a good defense. We have two guys in the Pro Bowl now. We have Quan Alexander and Gerald McCoy both won the Pro Bowl on the worst defense in the league. How's that?
Well, Quan got there because somebody else dropped off the Pro Bowl, but I don't even think this has been his best year.
No, for sure. He's injured a lot too.
Yeah, and so, but it is what it is. So.
Quan Alexander's a great linebacker, small linebacker, moves well. But every show we touch it and then we leave it. But you got to get some defensive backs. You got to get Gerald some help on the defensive line. And I'm just hoping that Bradley Chubb is the guy to get, and hope he's available in the first round. And I think the Bucs might be a little better. But what was the other AFC game? Well, that was a Pittsburgh game.
Yeah. It was just the Patriots, and then we already did. We've already done them all.
We've done all 4 games.
Yeah. So now we have the upcoming games.
Yes, the championship games Sunday.
Yeah. So we got Patriots, Jaguars now. So
Patriots.
what do you think?
Listen, the Patriots are going to make it to the Super Bowl by being the Titans and the Jaguars. 2 teams from the worst division of football. Dad, I'm sorry again, because my dad's a Colts fan, but that is a terrible division in football. They had 2 playoff teams, and the Jaguars are pretty good. But let's face it, they're not going to beat the Patriots. Come on.
You know what? I don't.
Park the car.
I would normally say that, and that's how I felt about the Jaguars beating Pittsburgh. I thought it was like, come on, this is not going to happen.
You can expose weaknesses. You can expose the Steelers' weaknesses because their coaching is good but not great. But you're not going to expose weaknesses of Bill Belichick. In fact, I saw that Leonard Fournette actually got in a car accident this week.
I know. I wish I knew him. I was going to refer him to our friend Josh for an accident.
I don't think he's hurt. I think he's fine. But a Patriots
everybody
fan did try to take him out right next to the Dames Bridge, which is a huge bridge that goes over the St. Johns River in Jacksonville. So I'm glad he's all right, because could you imagine that game without Leonard Fournette? I mean, it's probably might be bad anyway.
Well, and that's, there's this, and the other big story, Mr. Brady, your boy, the golden boy.
Yeah,
somebody ran into him in practice, and he hurt his hand.
Did he? Have you seen it?
Well, that's what they were reporting. Somebody ran into his hand, and now all of the
Who is that? Who ran into his hand?
Well, I have not heard yet.
I want to know. I want a name.
I don't think they've released this person's name yet.
Well, they don't. It'll be one of those Cubs. It'll be one of those Cubby situations where they ran the guy out of town and almost murdered him.
Could you imagine? Some free agent,
Yeah, Rudy. Rudy came in. He was trying to show Belichick how big of a hustler he was, and he like slams into Brady's hand.
And then Brady's hand is all swollen and he can't play.
And Brady jumps up and he's like, "You idiot! I hate you! You idiot!" And like yells at him.
And then you hear Bill Belichick. I knew he shouldn't have gotten rid of Garoppolo.
Garoppolo. No, man. Why did they get rid of him? He was so good. I think there was some drama behind that too. There wasn't.
Yeah.
That Brady wanted him gone because he was equally as handsome.
Well, I think his hair or something had to do with it. Yeah, it was a whole hair problem, and everybody's getting jealous. And And then Brady's worrying about his job. He thinks the new young kid's going to steal his job. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah, like that's ever going to happen.
So who you got? Patriots versus the Jaguars.
Patriots in a blowout.
Yeah,
I know I was wrong last week, but I no, it's not going to happen this week. Jaguars are going to go up there and freeze their tails off. Can you imagine Foxborough right now? How cold it is.
It's actually going to be 46 degrees.
That's cold for Jacksonville fans.
Well, actually,
that's not cold. Yeah, that's not bad. That was probably warmer than it was in Pittsburgh, honestly.
Well, it's probably warmer than it is in Jacksonville right now.
Yeah, true.
So I think for once the cold may not actually hurt Jacksonville as much. And it might be silly, but this recent cold snap that Florida's been in the last 2-3 weeks might help the Jaguars. Usually, a Florida-based team goes up to the Northeast or something to play a playoff game. You leave Tampa and it's 70.
Well, first off, it's very rare for a Florida team to go to the playoffs.
Well, lately, yes, that's true.
But the Dolphins go up there once a year because they got to play up in Foxborough, and they're always terrible up there. They always lose. There's a lot to be said for a team playing down here. There's players, a lot of these players before they're not acclimated to that. They're not ready for that. The crowd's going to be into it. The defense for New England has been kind of
up and down. I think
makeshift this year.
Yeah.
It's kind of shoddy. They lost Hightower. They lost a couple of good players, but they've made it happen. They have the MVP probably on their
I'm
center.
I'm gonna take the Jaguars.
You're taking the Jaguars.
Jags. I'm not gonna.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? What do you?
Probably more because I want them to win than
sure.
But I think I don't know. I mean, they've disproven a lot of stuff lately. So somehow they put 42 points up. And I don't think they're going to put 42 again, but I also don't. I mean 45, but I don't think they're going to give up 42 points to the Patriots. And so I don't really see the Patriots scoring more than 21. And I think if they can keep it to 21, then I think the Jaguars have a chance of pulling that game off.
That is a gutsy pick, my friend. I give you credit for that one. I think Jacksonville's reached their limit, and I think their fans are already content with where they are.
But I think they match up well. They actually have good people that can match up with Gronkowski. And,
You're right.
So that's where I give them, and that's the biggest mismatch probably in the entire league is Gronkowski versus a safety or
or a linebacker.
You need a linebacker to cover him, but they're not fast enough.
And Jacksonville's got some speedy linebackers that are big. And
even Ramsey is a pretty big corner safety, big guys.
Yeah, their defense has been stacked. I mean, they've had so many years of good draft picks that they've been able to build up.
I don't know that any other team could, but
I honestly do agree with you that Jacksonville matches up with the Patriots better than anybody in the league. I'm taking the things that aren't on paper, with the crowd, the feeling, the cold. The things that aren't necessarily football X's and O's, and you put that into the equation, I think it just ends up avalanching on Jacksonville. But great season, even if they do lose. I'd love to see them go to the Super Bowl. I would. I used to live in Jacksonville. I was a Jacksonville fan, and Byron Leftwich graduated Marshall with the quarterback there. We used to go to all the games. We were big fans. Back when it was called Alltel Stadium. It's been like 10 years. Alltel Stadium, yeah. It was back when everybody had cellular phones.
Those were the flip phone days.
Yeah, I had Nokia back then.
Yeah.
But, Well, the other game. Who you got in the other game?
What's the other game?
The other game is Minnesota and Philadelphia being played in the city of brotherly dirt.
Yes, I will have to go with the Vikings.
On the road.
Yeah, but it's one of those things, it's Case Keenum. They're both backups, essentially, but Case Keenum's been the starting quarterback for the whole year. And so at least I think that we've gotten a lot better showing of who Case Keenum is than Nick Foles right now.
Well, we got to see it firsthand when the Bucs went up there early in the season, and we thought, Sam Bradford's not going to play. We're going to beat him up there.
Yes, which every time we play them, I think we've played the Vikings like 3 times in the last 3 years, and it's been Case Keenum every time, and he torches us every time. And so, but anyway, so we got Vikings and Philly. I don't know how Philly is going to... I mean, their defense is good, but I don't know how they're going to... I think Atlanta was a flawed offensive team, and I think that the Vikings are a better offensive team. I just don't see Philly scoring enough points.
Yeah, Philly's... they might have run out of luck, too. Quarterback play was pretty good last week, but I think they
It was pretty terrible the first quarter.
Yeah, it
But
was.
he did get
Foles,
things back, but
he did do a few good things. But
still only scored 15 points.
It wasn't defense, man. Yeah. That defense is unbelievable. I mean, this might be one of the better modern day defenses that we've seen in a long time, especially on the front. That front seven, when you take all the substitutes and you bring in Vinny Curry on the end, and just the meat they have in the middle and stop the run. I mean, they're just phenomenal. You can't get 3 seconds to throw the ball. So I'll tell you right now, if Case Keenum's going to try to get the ball downfield, he's going to be in for a long day. He's going to have to nickel and dime his way down the field.
When I used to play quarterback, I used to throw in 2.5 seconds.
That was Tecmo and it was inside. But you are known as the 2.5 second man. That is true. I've heard heard that on the block.
2.5. 2, 3. At least 3.
All right.
I've been working on it, stretching it out, doing some exercises.
Well, good. Well, let's move on from that. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit of politics. We're going to get into some immigration. No, we talked about immigration last week.
You wanted to talk more about the sanctuary cities.
Sanctuary cities. We're going to talk a little bit about that. I have a little knowledge on exactly how that works, but we will talk about that. But first, we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back and talk about 20 minutes. Feel free to write in for those who are listening on Mixlr. You're listening live to us. And on Facebook, you're listening live. You can send us questions, and we'd be happy to talk to you. But we will be right back after this short tidbit of a song. All right, we're back. That's Rage Against the Machine with Fistful of Steel. Like those guys. Don't get enough of those guys.
I actually just had enough of those guys. Thank you. I'm not a very ragey person.
To each his own.
I used to be. I used to have some rage in me, and then when I was working at Publix way back in the day, I punched a door.
Yeah.
And I kind of learned a little bit better to control my.
I think you need some testosterone treatment.
No, that's actually the last thing I need. I turn into the Hulk. You don't want to see that.
Yeah.
I turn green, yellow eyes.
That wouldn't be very helpful on a green screen.
No.
You would be Invisible Man.
No.
Except and I only say that
yellow eyes.
The green screen So recently
is our video back too?
Oh, our video is
not
still
back. Break time here.
Oh, my production skills are lacking. Let's go to
unhide.
Hey, we are back here. For those of you who are watching us and listening to us on Facebook, welcome. For those of you who are on Mixlr,
or listening to the podcast later,
we appreciate you listening to it. Hopefully, the information that we share with you is not obsolete by the time you listen to it. But right now, there are some pretty sobering things going on in government and in our country, to say the least. The policy of the and I'll let you frame this as you'd like to. I don't want it to sound slanted the way I present it, but the government is making drastic changes to the way we handle immigration. Everyone agrees that we need immigration reform. But there is a great backlash on deporting families, such as the gentleman that made big news who was here for 30 years and was just deported recently out of Detroit. Very sad scene watching him hug his family bye to leave the United States. And I know we can't make all of our decisions based on emotion, but that was a pretty hard-hitting moment. We have a president who's polling at 37% right now, according to polls, who is demanding certain things in order to pass comprehensive immigration reform. And one of the things that's come up recently is sanctuary cities. And Dan, you explain that better than I do.
Well, it was just the idea. I mean, first of all, so what we have is we have a federal government who's in charge of immigration, deportation, and all these other things. And we have state, but the federal government, of course, there's not as many agents for the federal government. So FBI has an office in Tampa, but they don't have any offices in Pinellas or Pasco, whatever. So the federal government relies a lot on local law enforcement to do certain things. One of those things is the immigration holds. And so I believe that's where this whole sanctuary city or state thing has kind of come to fruition, and that the idea is that if the federal government puts a immigration hold on someone, and that person is stopped by local law enforcement or local or state law enforcement, that they want the state and local law enforcement to assist the federal government in holding that person, so that that person can then be either picked up by immigration or deported or some other sort of process. So Trump in December, Obama had an executive order, I believe it was several years ago, that essentially allowed, I don't know about allowed, but because executive orders don't really do a whole lot, but it just gave the state and local leaders the ability to refuse.
It's probably more of a memo.
I think it might have been an executive order, because I think that's what Trump, I don't know, anyway, so memo, whatever it was, that they don't really, you don't have to, gave them the open door to say, look, we don't have to cooperate.
Well, we're not going to enforce this particular federal law, which, let's face it, there are a lot of federal laws in the books. Correct. If we enforce them all, first off, we can't because we don't have enough FBI agents. We don't have enough law enforcement in the federal agencies.
Well, for everything. There's not enough law enforcement for everything.
So every administration comes in and picks and chooses which laws they want to enforce. For instance, the Obama administration said that they weren't going to go after marijuana. The Trump administration says they are going to go after marijuana, regardless of it being legalized in several states. Yeah. They said that it's no longer off the table, that they're not going to go after it. So now people that have invested money in marijuana, even though it was technically federally illegal, now their investments are being threatened. And the people, more importantly, the people who are depending on marijuana as a, to be prescribed to them for pain or what have you, they have to wake up every day worrying about whether or not they can do it. But I don't want to get too much on the point is that the federal government picks and chooses which things they want to enforce.
True. And in December, President Trump, he signed an executive order that tied sanctuary city, or not sanctuary cities, but cooperation by local and state and local law enforcement to the federal money. So federal money doesn't necessarily flow to state and local law enforcement directly, but there is grants that are given out by the executive branch for state and local, and that is is my understanding that that's the source of the federal funds that the president was going to stop if you were going to be a sanctuary city or county or state.
All right. Well, I've been paying attention to federal, just politics in general for a very long time. And the theme that I have gathered is that the Republicans really enjoy states' rights. Ever since the North tried to tell the South that they couldn't have slavery, they've always fallen back on that argument that states are individual governments. We have to have our rights. If we're not violating the Constitution that we all agreed to and ratified, that get off our backs, and if you're going to give us money, but don't bribe us with it, and that's always been kind of the Republican stance that I've gotten is states' rights. So the federal government come in here with their northern ways telling us what to do. But now that the tides have turned and we have a president who wants to push his different agenda than the last president, now all of a sudden we're using federal power to push his agenda, and the whole principle of states' rights is kind of being thrown out the window. And as I say states' rights, but I mean smaller and local government rights too.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, not obviously, but I mean, I disagree with some of this stuff. I don't necessarily think, when we're talking about states' rights and federal rights, immigration is a federal issue. The defense of our borders, the deciding who enters our country, all that kind of stuff is a federal government issue. To me, in my opinion, there's an implied cooperation between federal and state and local law enforcement officers. And there usually is among many, many, many things. And so for me, if this federal government says, hey, we'd like you to hold this person, it should be honored by a local government. Now, I don't believe that your local law enforcement officers should be tasked with going out and locating these people. But if they come into contact with someone, they check their and I guess that's the other thing is that there's in some of the cities, is there any requirement to check citizenship? And I personally, I don't think people should have to show their papers as they're walking down the street, because obviously you and I are not going to nobody's going to ask us for our papers. But if you happen to look like you're not, you might be from, a Latin American country, you're going to get stopped. So I don't think that, but I think there should be cooperation.
The profiling is unconstitutional, but and I do understand. I really do, and I think that if the federal government's job, which it is to control our borders, then I think they should work on the borders. But when you're talking about states that are in the Northeast who say, hey, we have a city government, we have a state government. We don't need the federal government to come in here and run our city. We can run our city, and we're going to do what we think is best for our citizens, and we're going to do what we think our citizens want us to do because we were elected. So if a mayor from a northeast city, or say Detroit or anywhere else, says, this is how we're going to govern our city, and it doesn't violate the Constitution, I think the principle, getting back to the principle, is that the way America was set up is that as long as they're not violating the Constitution, they can run the kind of government that they want to run, as long as it's a government for and by the people. And it is when it's an elected republic. So it's kind of a hairy situation. It's they're big leaguing these cities because they have the ability to do so. They have the power of the federal government behind them, and they're using it for all it's worth. And if their intention is really to make it safer for the people of the United States because they think that there are cells of terrorism in these cities, that the cities are just being naive and they don't know about it. If that's the issue, if they're trying to keep you and I safer, and my family and your family safer, then I'm all for it. But I'm not sure that that's the intention. I think that the intention is to change the face of the electorate in this country. It's commonly known that people of color are going to vote one way, and people that have the same color skin that you and I have are going to vote another way. It's not the case here particularly, but generally speaking, that's the case. And that's how they choose these demographics, is generally, because you can't get too specific about it. But if that's the reason why, if we're trying to change the face of the electorate to be whiter, then I think it's wrong. And you have to think that that's okay. I wouldn't have said that maybe under the Bush administration. I wouldn't have said that. But the things that are coming out of this White House, I mean, they're talking about shithole countries. They're talking about things that...
I understand, but we're talking right now, I mean, at this particular thing, we're talking about, cooperation between the federal government and state and local government as it relates to deportation of immigration, of
absolutely. And that's
non-legal immigrants.
And that's what I'm talking about. And that's when I question the intentions of why they're doing it. There has to be some racist considerations.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I understand. I'm not saying that they are, but I'm saying that could you understand why someone may think that from what you've seen come out of this White
everybody.
House?
Here's first of all, there's two parts of this problem. One part of the problem is the president himself. President has said things that are, there's different things he said that aren't accurate or not very good. But then at the other side, the other side of this is not everybody, but again, there's a lot of people on the other side of the issue that, freak out over every little thing. They want to, the sky is falling on everything. And so I think that both sides of this issue have to blame for the...
There's good people on both sides. Right?
Yeah, there are. More on my side.
I was quoting Trump when he was defending the Nazis.
Yeah, well, neo-Nazis, not real Nazis.
From a Jewish guy.
But anyway, I don't think they're trying to change the electorate. They're changing by this.
So you think it's all good intentions, huh?
I believe that that state and local government should assist the federal government or federal law enforcement officers in things like this.
Well, when you frame it like that, of course, I don't think that there should be a conflict all the time. But give me your take on what type of resistance should the local and state government be able to present to the federal government when they don't feel like they should have to enforce certain federal laws that conflict with state laws? I mean, do federal laws always trump state laws, or are you more local, or are you more of a...
doesn't matter what I think. I think federal laws do trump.
It's a radio show.
But federal laws do trump state laws, though.
Well, it does.
I mean, that's the reality.
But what I'm saying is, do you think they trump them in terms of the Constitution? And they trump them when they pass laws, obviously. As lawyers, we both know that. But when you live somewhere, do you feel like you're being governed by the city or the state or the federal government? Who do you feel like you're being governed by the most?
A combination of all. A combination of all. And it should be a combination.
Is it 33% all the way down the middle?
No, I'm sure it's not. There's certain issues that are going to be federal issues. There's certain, Pinellas County says that I could have chickens in the backyard and raise chickens. If you live in the city limits of Largo, you can't, you may not be able to have chickens in your backyard. So I mean, there's the state says I have to, or our county says our sales tax is going to be this amount. We're going to add a penny here, so the sales tax. But you have, it's a.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm tired of.
It's all three.
Man. I'm tired of the hypocrisy of the whole situation because I've heard for so many years, keep the federal government off my back. Keep your regulations and your federal government off my back. Let us do what we do down here. Don't come down here and tell us what to do. And I say down here because it's usually the southern states.
But see, this is immigration, though. It's not. But it's a different issue.
It's the same principle. It doesn't matter about the issue. It's the principle. It's been different issues throughout time. Throughout the time that we've had this country, we've heard southern states complain time and time again that the federal government needs to stay out of our business. They need to let us do.
This is not just southern states.
First it was slavery. Then it was this. Then it was that. And well, now it is out west because the tides have changed. And so now the states that are not from the South, the states that have different agendas are now saying, hey, get off our back. Get off our back. You guys said it for years. So I don't think that they really believe in this principle of states' rights.
To me, it's not a states' rights issue.
It's a local rights issue.
But to you, it's a federal state. To me, it's not at all. This is not an issue, whatever.
But is the federal government not pushing their agenda on these smaller governments?
I think they should be. I think the federal government has a right to do what they're doing, and the local governments are wrong in what they're doing.
Well, I'll tell you what. I can't say this about you personally because you and I never had this conversation 5 years ago. But you go back and you watch tape of everybody that's on your side, and you watch whether it be Fox News, CNN, or anything, and you watch the rhetoric that came out of the Republican side, which was to keep Obama and the feds off our back, and it's been that situation.
It's not an issue
for me, though. Small government, stay out of my life,
But I just don't see it that being the issue at all. Completely not the issue to me. It's a non-federal states' rights issue. Is not even a thought to me on this issue.
Well, we might have to go to the ADT on this one, or the ATD, the agree to disagree button, and hit it on that one, because I think we're totally on different sides of the page. I mean, I really do believe that the first thing you have to do is you have to say, what rights do the cities have in being able to govern themselves? And if you say that they don't really have any rights when the federal feds want to come in and push their agenda or push their laws or whatever it be, if they decide they want to enforce certain laws from this cafeteria-like statutes that you have where you pick and choose what you want depending on the administration, then it is a rights issue because cities can't govern themselves.
We will agree to disagree on that particular issue. So we have some other pressing presidential issues, I think, to discuss as well. Do we not?
We've talked
about our health and fitness issues. So we also have a president that just had his annual review? Or what do they call it? Annual physical.
It wasn't his annual physical. It's a physical that he called upon to have himself.
No. He has an annual physical.
He does have an annual physical.
And then he also did a mental cognitive at the same time.
Okay. So he had that in addition.
Yes.
Okay.
Which, of course, is because of all the people on the left that are saying he's mentally deranged and he's mentally incapacitated. So I think he decided, I'm going to show them.
What do you expect when you tweet things like he tweets, man? He doesn't seem to have any sense at all.
Oh, the sun is starting to get me here. Dealing some new issues in the studio.
I would question you if you started tweeting the things that he tweets. He's got so many problems, man. This is so Nixonian. He's got porn stars getting paid off and doing, gosh.
What does that have to do with his health?
Well, hey, you know what they say.
Paying off porn stars? Actually, Warren Sapp would have been better off if he paid his porn stars.
Yes, he would be. That's for sure. Well, the president apparently is just 1 pound shy of being obese. He's obese. 239 pounds at 6'3", which is, I believe, Tim Tebow's numbers, and also Tom Brady's numbers, and several other. Yeah,
Tom Brady's
a big guy.
He's like a toothpick.
Nah, Tom Brady's a pretty big dude. He's a little bit smaller. He's probably like 220. So
I'm just saying, and the whole. Now, granted, I've been overweight my entire life, so for me, I have my own personal issues with the whole obese, calling someone obese when they're like 15 pounds overweight. I think that's a little absurd. Like, to me, 15. I'm not. It's not you, because this is like the FDA. Whatever they have these guidelines that say if you're, if it's 15 pounds or whatever, you're obese, and it's like, well, that's. You're overweight. weight.
I'm not getting caught up in that. I just think it's strange.
No,
that he happens to be
we're just fooling around here.
I'm thinking it's funny that he was 1 pound under, so
Yeah.
so doctors can't call him obese.
Yeah, but
and that
even
he's
if they
6'3",
did,
even though his license says 6'2", and there's pictures of him standing beside Obama, the full length pictures of him standing beside Obama, who's 6'1", and Obama's the same exact height as Trump, not counting the poof that goes up, the dead rat on his head that goes up.
No. That's all naturally brought back by baldness medication.
Yeah, that's natural.
I think
that's all natural.
No, is it Propecia?
Yeah, because everyone has naturally orange hair when they're in their 70s. That's
come on, hair coloring. Oh, look, if we're gonna go after every personality for hair coloring, I think we're gonna be in big trouble on that one.
Let me ask you this though: like in the last 2 months, you've worked really hard in eating right and exercising. And even with your fluids that you've taken in, you try to make sure that you do that.
Which are some of them coffee.
That's hilarious. But can you believe, honestly, that a guy who openly eats McDonald's and Kentucky Fried Chicken all day has a huge ass and who only drinks like sodas, can you believe that in his 70s that he is fit and healthy?
He had, here's the other thing of this. And so we all know that genetics play a big role in all of this stuff. And so for him, his genetics, I have the sun blazing in my eye. This is very
you
bad.
deserve. That's God telling you you're wrong.
Listen,
right now. That is God telling you forcefully that you are so wrong.
There are, genetics play a big part in this. If the man has made it to 71 with just the, bare minimums of any sort of heart disease, he's doing pretty good. And I think we get... we have these little, we have our celebrities, we see our athletes, we see all these people on TV and they look, Adonises, they're Greek gods. Some of these people they look like now on, TV and everything for men and women. And, obviously he's a 71-year-old man. There are very few 71-year-old men who are in the tip-top shape. There was that one old guy who, I think he's still alive, but he was like 100 or something, and he could like lift up a car.
It makes me think of the guy on Seinfeld. Remember the guy on Seinfeld?
Yes, with the refrigerator, with the TV.
Yeah.
Mendelbaum.
You think you're stronger than me? Mendelbaum. We need to get Mendelbaum on the show. Is he dead yet? Hey, Mendelbaum, if you're listening, give us a call. We're going to have a lift-off in here.
That is much better than the detergent pod challenge that you suggested earlier today.
I think we should do that as a lesson to the kids that... my grandfather was part of the greatest generation. And, we always used to think, wow, we have everything because of them. And then you fast forward to now, and we're looking at this, man.
And you got these idiots on the internet radio doing chip challenges, and then these kids doing detergent challenges. And
I'm not doing any more challenges. I won the first one, and I will do a challenge for charity only. So if there's anyone who has a challenge that they would like that would somehow benefit someone in need, I would do that. And I take it back. I would consider it.
And it must also not have anything to do with me taking my shirt off.
Yes, I agree with that. Anything to take a shirt off. Some of the people that Donald Trump, his statistics compared to at 239 pounds and 6 feet tall, that gives him the same build as Tom Brady, Jay Cutler of the NFL. He probably throws better passes than Jay Cutler. And Colin Kaepernick of all people. They're built basically the same. So maybe Donald Trump could be our backup quarterback next year.
Could be. But I would like to see these gentlemen when they are 71. So I think the president's in excellent health for someone who's 71 years old. I don't really see. He sleeps 4.5 hours. I think as much as we criticize him, he does a lot more than
baloney. They say he's in bed at 6 o'clock reading magazines.
I don't know about that. I don't have any inside information on that stuff, so I can't comment.
I don't know. Hey, look, I got a lot more to worry about, and we have a lot more to worry about than when time he goes to bed and how fat he is. Honestly, there's so much more to worry about. I feel like it's really a distraction, but it did catch me off guard that he was bragging about his cognitive test, and we saw a picture of his cognitive test. It's like which animal is this?
Did they
it
do
was
the
a
clock?
lion.
Did they do the Minty Mendel Fulston test where they have like a little clock and they have to,
They did. They showed it on the Daily Show. They had a lion and a rhino and a giraffe, and he had to pick which one of them.
I'm pretty sure that wasn't the test.
It was. It's part of the exact test that they talked about that he took, the cognitive test. It's like really simple, and he got all the questions right. And then yesterday he gets on TV and tells everyone that the problem in Korea hasn't been dealt with by past presidents because they wanted to wait for a president of high intellectual, prowess to be president so he could fix it, and that he passed this test with flying colors, and he's our guy.
Hey, did Obama take this test and pass it?
I don't think he could. I don't.
I don't think Bush did it. I don't think Bush Sr. did it. I don't think Clinton took this test. So what this shows me is that this president is willing to put himself out there and prove, because it could have come back that he was incapacitated, and then we would have had impeachment and everything.
He was basically on Celebrity Jeopardy. That's what he did. What color is a fire truck?
But listen, but to be honest, I mean that the topic is a great topic for us to discuss here with our listeners on culturally damaged. I think that the unfortunate thing is that the actual major news networks spend like 2 days discussing the same stuff that we're talking about.
I want to know if my president is honest with me.
Had a bowel movement yesterday.
I want to know if he's honest with me about his weight and about his fitness, because if he dies, I got to deal with Mike Pence. I don't like Mike Pence either.
But it doesn't matter whether he lies or not.
It does matter, because if he's not healthy and he says he is and then he croaks,
but it's too late.
I deserve to know
he's elected. It doesn't matter.
He's an elected official, exactly, and that's why we have the right to know whether he's all right. You know who else lied to the people? FDR. Remember we had polio and nobody knew about it? And I still think that's wrong.
One of our listeners agrees with me.
I still think that's wrong. Tell me who it is.
That's none of your business. You should be paying attention.
Was it one of your best friends?
No, it's not. Actually, well, she is a good friend.
Oh, you just said she's not one of your best friends. You heard it. He just said that he's not one of your best friends.
It's actually one of our campaign volunteers.
Okay. I didn't know we had campaign volunteers. So
we have one.
I like to welcome them. Who is it?
It's Linda.
Linda! I did meet Linda yesterday.
She says to watch out, Chris.
Linda, you're the best. I have nothing bad to say about Linda.
Linda's feisty.
Awesome. She's feisty. And she also picked you to win the chip challenge.
Well, I
questioned her judgment. Linda, can you take a cognitive test?
I actually said something about the people who picked me were stupid, and I had to apologize because they were my closest friends, and I was told that it was not. They knew that I was going to lose, but they were just trying to be supportive. Oh, so I feel really bad about calling those people who thought that I would do that. Yes.
So that says something.
So it was nice, even though I failed my friends and let them down. But I think they were really expecting. I don't think they really expected me to not. Anybody who's gone to eat with me, especially anywhere that has any sort of spicy food, there's no spice. No stars, no little red flakes in my food.
You gotta put some spice in your life, man.
Yeah, I got your spice right here.
Ooh, all right. Well, how are we doing on time here?
I think we're actually at the end, which is really disheartening because we actually have the most listeners or most watchers on Facebook that we've ever had.
Hey guys, come back. We're going to be here again, and you can listen to our other shows. If you scroll up, you can watch our other shows too. It's funny, especially the Chip Challenge one where I beat Dan. That's the best one because he was crying like a girl.
There was no crying, but I couldn't talk. But I could barely talk. That's for sure.
It was the best 5 minutes of our show.
What the hell's going on here? All these little things. Who's liking us?
I don't know. Keep liking us, though. Share us.
Yeah.
We're kind of a couple of entertaining guys. You could get used to this, right? Yeah, maybe not. But, hey, I want to give a shout-out to Dave Ellis, who's running in Pasco and Pinellas. We're going to come up with a good jingle. I had coffee with a jingle guy today, actually, and I want you to meet him. He's great. He comes up with jingles. He did the Heartbeat of America for Chevy. He's a brilliant guy.
Did he do the nationwide one?
Nationwide is on your side? I'll call him and ask him. I'm not sure. He may have.
If he did that one, then...
he's done some really, really big ones, local and national. So maybe we can get a jingle for our show.
What about...
Culturally damaged. Come listen to it.
Kris and Dan, and then a crash or something at the end of that.
Yeah, like a real cool sound. All right, well, hey, we'll leave you with that. I think we were getting a little punch drunk here on Thursday. We got one more day left in the week, and then we are off to the weekend. So, hope you like the new digs here in the studio.
Yeah.
You did a really nice job with it.
Make sure you bundle up tonight. It's going to be another cold one.
It's going to be cold out there, folks. I'm going to leave you with a nice little song here, and I want to thank everybody for listening. Come back next week, because we will be here on Culturally Damaged on Thursday afternoon.
Peace out, people.